What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel. So I always put in my description of every video to put recommendations for what you guys would like to see next. And Barry Boppins, I'm pretty sure that's what his name was, put a recommendation into the small block Chevy. Is the small block Chevy worth it? So today we're going to go through a little bit of the history of the small block Chevy. I'm going to read you guys some factual things, let you guys know, plus add in some clips of vehicles that have small block Chevys producing good power, doing burnouts, accelerations, and etc. But enjoy the freaking intro, guys, and do not forget to smash that subscribe button down below. We are trying to hit 5,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and we are getting freaking close.
Look at that LB7 smoke, baby! Because it's freaking America Day, that's why.
Always got to start off the day with a freaking monster, because I absolutely love these monsters, which is the Rehab Tea Lemonade. And to be honest with you guys, I don't really drink any other energy drink other than this. And some people say, oh, well, it tastes like crap. I'll be honest with you, this is the best freaking drink for hangovers, aside from having more alcoholic beverages. This is the best thing that I have found personally for hangovers. Whew. Now that we chugged half that really cold monster, because my refrigerator is set to like super freaking cold and it's fantastic, we're gonna put in a pinch of dip and get talking about the small block friggin' Chevy and why you guys should own one and why you should build one and why everybody should freaking have one and just build one and have a good freaking time. Now, I'm going to be looking at my computer right now, rating you guys kind of a little bit of the history. So just so you guys know, I'm reading this stuff. I didn't know this stuff off the top of my head, but the Chevrolet small block engine is a series of V8 automobile engines, which obviously everybody knows small block Chevy is typically a V8, almost, well, I guess, yeah, it's always a freaking V8. But the General Motors used the small block Chevy from 1954 till 2003. Now, I didn't know that. I didn't know that it was like going back and different things like that. But something that I learned reading this, and it's really cool, was the range of cubic inch sizes that were classified as a small block Chevy. So the family spanned from the 262 cubic inch 4.3 liter to the 400 cubic inch 6.6 liter. Now, the 6.6 liter, obviously a lot of you guys know, the 6.6 is also the Duramax motor. I'm not sure if that's still classified as a small block Chevy. So if you know, comment down below. I'm assuming yes, but maybe on the same token, no. Engine-wise, like size-wise, it is the same, but I'm not sure if it still classifies in that just because it's diesel in comparison to whatever. So I genuinely don't know. So if you guys want to comment down below whether or not the Duramax technically is, let me know, because I am actually curious. So something interesting as I continue to read, the production of the original small block Chevy became a thing in 1954, later in the year for the 1955 model year, with a displacement of 265, which it says 262 up top, so I don't understand that, but it's all right. Maybe it was just a typing flaw. But over the years, they continued to grow with displacement. So the displacement replacements were the 283, which a lot of people know the 283, which is a 4.6 liter, the 327, which is a 5.4 liter, and then obviously the most notorious that everybody hears is the 350 5.7 liter. Now, the 5.7 you see in a lot of different things. You see in old Camaros, you see them in old pickup trucks, and like across the board, they were just so commonly used that when it came to the V8, a lot of the time you either had, like in my Camaro, for example, you either had like a 305 or a 350. But then the more you go back, it's just in time to get a little bit smaller. On a side note, I find this super interesting. So they set them in bore size families. So the 3.875 inch bore family, which was from 1955 until 1973, included your 265, your 283, and your 387. Then your 4-inch bore family, which goes from 1962 to 2002, was the 302, the 327, the 350, and then it just lists all the different variations of the 350s. And then from 1970 to 1980, they had a 4.125-inch bore, which was the 400, obviously. And then from 1975 to 1976, they had a 3.671-inch bore, which was the 262. They also had a 3.736 family bore from 1976 until 1998, which was the 305, and then it gives all the different variations of the 305. So typically, a lot of people have this misconception, especially if you're not big into cars, that they're the same motor. Now, I learned that, especially like owning a Volkswagen, like back in the day when I had my Mark IV GTI, so I had a 1.8T. So I assumed that the 1.8T was the same 1.8T from 99 until 2005, but then I started doing a little bit of research, and then I found out that there were actually different variations throughout all of those years, and I actually purchased the best block that I could have got in a 1.8T. So as a big Camaro fan, obviously you would know, if you're big into third-gen Camaros, that the L98 was used, which is the tune port injection block that was used from 1985 to 1982, which was used in both the Camaros and the Corvettes. After the L98, they ended up transferring to the LT1 in 1991, which you guys would have seen inside the 1992 to 1996 C4 Corvettes, the 93 to 97 4th gen Camaro and Firebirds, and then there's a whole other list of different things like the Caprice, the Impala, the Buick Roadster, stuff along those lines. But the LT1, honestly, in my opinion, is one of the best sounding motors out there. Now, everybody will argue the fact that, yes, the LT1 sounds better than the LS1, but the LS1 does push out more power, which obviously you're talking about newer technology and things along those lines. But I have stuck to my guns that I really, really like the LT1. Now I'm going to kind of read what they have as a description for the LT1. So in 1991, GM created a new generation small block engine called the LT1 350, distinct from the high output generation 1 LT1 from the 1970s. So the LT1 was actually a thing prior in the 1970s. Its displacement is a 5.7 liter, 350 cubic inch. It was a 2-valve push rod design. The LT1 used a reverse flow cooling system, which cooled the cylinder heads first, maintaining lower combustion chamber temperatures and allowing the engine to run at higher compression than its immediate predecessors. That's why we saw such a massive power and torque increase in the early 90s, was the whole creation of the LT1 kind of started a trend in the bigger power, where like even going back to like the 305 and the 350s from the 1980s, I mean, you were talking under 200 horsepower for the majority of those motors. The TPI, I believe, put out 235, correct me if I'm wrong, but you weren't really seeing the power numbers that you saw. Now, like I said in the last clip, was obviously as time goes by, technology gets better, you learn new things, things come up that become more efficient, you can push more power. I mean, look at vehicles now. Back in the day, if you had a 400 horsepower car, that was deemed like freaking awesome. Nowadays, you got Chrysler Town & Country minivans that are coming out with 300 horsepower just due to technology and everything like that. And by no means does that mean that the Chrysler Town & Country is like some type of speed wagon, but it just kind of comes to show the transition in our mindsets as to what is deemed good power. Now, personally, I still think that 400 to 500 horsepower is still a very nice, mild street car build, something that you can drive as a daily, still maintain that reliability. But the small block Chevy in general is just, it's something that it's so common, and it's honestly so cheap to build and purchase. Like you can go out and buy an LT1, like I was just saying. You can buy an LT1 motor for like $600. Now, yes, it might need a rebuild, but personally, if I'm going to buy a motor to put into any of my cars, I'm going to rebuild it anyway before I place it into my vehicle, so then I know everything is to the specs that I want it to be. So if I were to give my honest opinion about the small block Chevy, is you can't necessarily go wrong, especially if it's an old carbureted motor. And that's one of the cool things. And those of you that have watched other videos on my channel, I'm not necessarily too huge on newer vehicles, anything like that. I don't necessarily need all the nooks and crannies when it comes to new vehicles, but in carbureted motor, you could go back and just interchange anything. And it was so easy to diagnose what was wrong with your motor because you weren't dealing with all the electrical garbage that you kind of have on today. Now, I will say, it's very nice to hook up to the OBD2 port and just boop, scan, and then you could tell what's wrong. But back in the day, it was so simple to diagnose yourself personally, and that's why you saw a lot of guys, especially back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, working on their own vehicles, saving the money rather than going to a shop because they were so easy to work on. In conclusion, Barry Poppins, that I still can't get over that name because I think of Mary Poppins, but it's Barry Poppins. I do think, honestly, the small block Chevy is 100% worth it, especially even if you're just like the slightest knowledgeable when it comes to automotive and working on motors or anything like that. Depending on your frame, stuff like that, there's so much history in the small block Chevy. Obviously, they were doing something right that it ran for literally 50 years. I don't necessarily care if it's in a truck, if it's in a car, if it's in a van, and anything like that. You can make a build out of a small block Chevy in really anything. And you can push decent power. Obviously, people nowadays are just slapping massive turbos on anything and making it run super quick. But back in the day, you got really, really good sound out of the small block Chevy. And yes, some people say go big or go home and go with the big block. But if you're looking for a casual driver or something that can haul, for example, if you have a 350 Chevy pickup truck from the 80s, you're still going to get that power and torque that you're looking for. And the reliability in Chevy small blocks is just absolutely insane. That's why they have been a thing for so long. So absolutely, I do think that the small block Chevy is 100% worth it to invest your time into, to invest into maybe a project building with a small block Chevy. Hence why it is done so often. We are going to conclude this video with some clips of small block Chevys doing burnouts and accelerations and all sorts of other goodies. But if this was your first time watching a video on the channel, guys, I hope you give this video a big thumbs up. Do not forget to smash that subscribe button down below. Join us on our journey to 5,000 subscribers. I am trying so gosh dang hard to hit that goal by the end of the year. And I'm so excited and so grateful for all of you guys that have jumped on the bandwagon and joined the journey. And honestly, it's such a good feeling jumping from under 2,000 subscribers this year to almost cresting 5,000 this year. We still have a little bit of a good ways to go in the next 2 months, but I think it is 100% achievable. Enjoy the remaining clips, guys, and I will see you guys in the next one. Freaking enjoy it and go out and buy yourself a small block Chevy, okay? Got it, good. The way people laugh during burnouts is absolutely hilarious.